Okay. Right, sorry for the delay. I was off doing stuff family-wise, but I am here for the first time commentating on the last round of Lightning Racing League for this season. So at the moment we have Formula Smokesy ahead by 3/10, ahead of Leon, who's DNF'd, Alex Carew, who's DNF'd as well. We're here with the Aston Martin of is this Nay Danger? I need to put the stuff up, don't I? That is Nay Danger, the man in P3 at the moment, who's currently on a lap. He's at 1:28.8. He's 8/10 behind the Ferrari ahead of him in the order at the moment. As I can see, I think we've got 5. No, we had 5 viewers. Now we have 2. Meanwhile, heading round turn 27 with Nay Danger David heading down the straight over the line, and he doesn't improve. It looks like he's starting another lap though, so we'll keep an eye on him. One of the McLarens behind starting a lap. We have the other Aston Martin starting a lap as well. We have one of the Ferraris coming out the pits. Scott M at the pits. We have, is that an Alpine? Both Alpines are starting a lap. One of the Williams looks like they're going to end a lap in any minute. There it is, as QBVI coming down the straight. He doesn't pit, so he is going to take this lap, although it looks like an off lap. So again, another one starting a lap will go to the Red Bull behind him, who's currently 2 seconds up, and he's locked up. He's in the wall. Rad C22 has gone off at the last corner. And when the main man for Red Bull in 2025, Max Verstappen, crashed at that very wall next to him, Rad has had a very similar crash. 1.7 seconds up on his lap, and he locks up on the last corner. Absolute disappointment for the Red Bull driver. Meanwhile, the man in the Antichrist of Red Bull, the Mercedes, who's currently 12 seconds off the pace, he's going to start another lap later on. We have, I think, no Seb is on a lap. Yep, no Sebo. Coming into the last corner, turn 27. We're right on board with the McLaren. Again, it's in a normal livery. I'm getting confused with the normal livery and the non-normal livery on the McLarens. As meanwhile, I think the McLaren of no Seb just went to P6. Yes, he did, with a 1:29.3. He's currently 4/10 behind the guy ahead of him. Meanwhile, the pole sitter setting another lap. Over the line he goes. It's another improvement for Formula Smokey. Nearly half a second up on his previous time. Incredible stuff. The other Alpine behind Petrocam. There he is. He hasn't moved up the table. He should have a better lap later on. We have one of the Williams behind him, who may or may not have just improved his time. I may have missed that. Meanwhile, we have the McLaren who just finished his lap. We have one of the Ferraris on a lap, Scott M in the Ferrari, right up close to the wall on the exit of the banked corner, turn 7, and heading through, in fact, the S's now down the back straight, which isn't very straight at all. It's just a long winding snake section heading into the treacherous chicane, turn 22, 23, and he nails it. Just about a bit loose midway through. He went over the curb, but he's got purple in sector 2. Can the Ferrari, the prancing horse, can he absolutely rain on the competition? The number 8 car, can he lay down the ace of spades and completely dominate here in qualifying? He's up to P3 behind his teammate. It's a Ferrari 2-3 in the qualifying session here at Saudi Arabia. Yeah, look, the special livery from McLaren. That must be a new thing for this game then. You must be able to have a special livery on the McLaren if you do that Silverstone thing that they're on about. That's something I didn't know, as I haven't played the game I haven't played the game enough, to be honest. I've played the game spontaneously at different occasions, but apart from the commentating, I haven't really driven much in the game, so I haven't kept up with the EA game things, but here's this McLaren then, the silver one. So at least we have 2 different liveries for the McLaren on the grid then, which is very peculiar. I don't know if you can choose between the 2 cars or if you are just stuck with the silver one for the time being, but yes, if you can choose between them, that is a great feature. But enough EA glazing. We have the V car. No, we don't. He's not on a lap. We have a yellow flag for a Alpine who's out of fuel. That's Petra Cam, who's, well, Petra. Oh, and the pole sitter is retired. He's done for the day with a couple of minutes to go in qualifying. The man in 11th hasn't set a lap yet, so we'll keep an eye out for him. Meanwhile, his teammate is coming up to the line on an out lap. We have no Seb in the pits. We have the Mercedes 3/10 up. The man in 5th up, and he's currently 100th behind Nay Danger David, even less than 100th, probably even a couple. No, it's 0.013 from what I can see. Behind Nay Danger David, but he's currently purple in Sector 1. Important, he's ahead at the moment of his previous time by a couple tenths of a second. Could he deny the top 2, who are both retired? So remember, if anyone gets past the top 2, they can't do anything in terms of like trying to beat them. So you are able to choose the livery in the lobby for the McLaren. That is very nice, I have to say. I wish they had that in F1 2021, because there were so many different liveries. There was the White Bull. They didn't do the Golf McLaren, but they did other cars like the Arava car and things like that. That would have been really cool. But meanwhile, we have the Mercedes here of Tarkan Gino, and Gino hits the wall with his rear right tyre. That's gonna hurt him as he heads to the line. P5 goes up to P3. Nicely done there. He's 7 tenths off the pole, and he's 300ths ahead of Scott M. Interesting stuff here in qualifying. Meanwhile, the silver McLaren, the chrome car, heading up the hill and into the last corner, flat out. This is going to be a critical moment for the McLaren. He set a 130.0 in practice on mediums. Can he better that here in qualifying in the night? The shining McLaren goes to P2, goes to the front row, and he's about 11. He's currently 100th behind. No, he's not. What am I talking about? He's 8 tenths behind, should I say. He's 400ths ahead of Leon, exactly 400ths ahead of Leon in the Ferrari. But the McLaren does take the throne from the Ferrari car. Meanwhile, Mercedes coming back to the pits. We have the other McLaren who's on an out lap. Everyone else on tracker at the moment is on an out lap, bar the man in 11th, who is improving very slightly as he heads on the back section of the Corniche circuit. He's off wide. That was very close to an invalidation, but he just about managed to keep the car from having his lap deleted. But the man in the Red Bull, on the limit, he's heading through turn 22, through turn 23. He's in the number 11, the Sergio Perez number, as he heads down the straight here. We have a yellow flag for the McLaren behind, who's probably out of fuel. We have a bit of a cluster up ahead. I think that's with No Seb, who's got the Ferrari coming out the pits. Bit of traffic management up there. Meanwhile, the Red Bull again struggling through the final corner. Rad and the final corner do not go together well today. As over the line, he improves his time, but he doesn't get up the order, as he has a damaged front winglet. Don't know if that was from the last corner or not, but interesting stuff then. As yeah, that's very interesting, I have to say, to see the Red Bull struggling twice around that last corner. Obviously not as dramatically as the first time I saw him at the last corner, but meanwhile we have one of the Williams who's invalidated, so that's a shame. He won't be able to improve his time. We have No Seb into the wall hard. No Sebo has no front wing, and he's slidden off into the wall on his way back to the pits, it looks like, which is absolutely annoying, I must say, for him. As meanwhile, I think we have a V-carb going slowly. We do. It's Lindblad who's struggling. Oh, it looks like he's trying to let people through on their laps. Very nice etiquette here in qualifying, but he's speeding up now as the Aston Martin lets him go. As there's a Mercedes as well going slowly on his outlap. We have Scott there. We have the Aston Martin. I think the other Aston Martin is on an outlap. Fogan on his first outlap. We'll watch him later on. We have one of the Williams still on a lap, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, he's nearly half a second up as he heads through turn 15, is it? I can't remember. As Arton retires. Altron, should I say, in the Chrome car, has retired. As meanwhile, fastest second sector for QBVII. So as the clock strikes 0, the top 3 all retired from the session. The man in 10th will be the first one to finish in the session. The other drivers in the session have already finished, it looks like, as Tark and Gino, No Sabo and Forgan, who have all finished. Forgan didn't get a lap in qualifying. Not the best for him, but it's not any better for QBV, who's not been able to improve his position. Meanwhile, we have the Mercedes coming over the line again. We have Danger David nearly 8 tenths up, over 8 tenths up, as Lindblad retires. Danger David is going to put the other drivers in danger. He goes to second, nearly 3 tenths off of the pole time. We have the Ferrari behind him of Scott M, who takes it up to third. Storming laps at the end of this qualifying session, but by these two, Scott M denying his Ferrari teammate and his McLaren Chrome rival a chance at the top time. Right, the chance at the top 3 starting positions on the grid. Meanwhile, Conrad, oh, he's 17 seconds off the pace. He's not going to be able to improve. That's a shame for him. What about Petra? Again, no, not going to be able to improve. It looks like that is your qualifying order for the Saudi Arabian Lightning Racing League GP. The season finale is meanwhile one of the Red Bulls are in the wall again at the last corner. I hope that he's able to sort this out in the race, because that last corner and that Red Bull are looking very messy indeed. As over the line goes Rad, who sets a 58.1, which doesn't beat his previous best time of a 34.0. And then we have the Alpine Petro, who decides to box his Alpine Renault. Obviously Renault, as the Alpine runs on a Renault engine, the only car in the game that does run a Renault engine. Just checking viewer count, we have 4 people watching. Thank you all for watching. Say a quick hi in chat if you want. Any questions, I will love to accept. As yeah, it's been good commentating on Lightning Racing League so far. It was obviously a bit of a disorganised start for myself, but yeah, a bit of tarnish for Fogan there. Wasn't able to set a time. He was a bit late to the party. He'd done his outlap, and then by the time he'd done that, the checkered flag was out, which is not the best for the AMR car. So that is your order. 2 tenths separating Danger David and Formula Smokesy. The Alpines, 1st and 7th. The Ferraris, though, in terms of the constructors, are looking very decent. 3rd and 5th, if they can keep that going in the race, that will be very preferable. Alton in the Chrome McLaren, ahead of his teammate by 4 places. No Sebo in the normal McLaren livery, the default livery for the McLaren. And then the sole remaining Red Bull cars in their respective teams, the Toro Rosso and the Red Bull. I know it's called a Racing Bull, but me starting to watch F1 in 2016, I do still think of it as a Toro Rosso. Well, obviously you know what I mean. The B version of Red Bull. So yeah, I'm gonna take a quick thingy. 1 second. But yeah, no, it's been nice so far. I think ones to watch out for are obviously Formula Smokesy and oh my god, that's a horrible, horrible thing. Um, Not anything on screen, just something else that I'm looking at. um, so Leon saying he'll take P3 as his lap was quote trash. As Alton said, it's not a bad lap. He's usually sweet as super quick, the super Swede of Leon. So maybe that pace will show in the race. As we have 5 minutes wait time before the race starts, so we go at 8:39 UK time, should I say? As congrats on Smokesy for the pole, and yeah, this will be one to watch. Saudi races are always fun. I can recall ALR Saudi races, which is another league that is, I don't know, the old version. There's like a 2 version of that league. The first version was run by a dude called Thermiter. The second version is ran by MMR, but the first version of ALR in season 2 Saudi, we had a pretty decent race where a lot happened, and also SRC Saudi has always been chaotic. Mainly sim races at Saudi are always just very. To be fair, not just sim races, any race at Saudi is always very entertaining to watch. It's similar to Baku, but at higher speeds. It's very entertaining, but very annoying if you're the driver or if you're supporting someone. There's always something going wrong or something going right in someone or some other's favour that you don't really have any control of. And although yes, it's sometimes a bit rigged, sometimes racing is rigged, but that is just racing. I think this track does give that vibe a lot. I kind of think of this track as a high-speed kind of nighttime version of Bathurst, but without the elevation. I think if it had a lot more elevation, I think if it was put on a mountain, it would be as good as Bathurst. And if there was 2 massive straights, it would also be as good as Bathurst. But I think the kind of mountain section of Bathurst is like a slower version of this track, which is great to watch. Alpelisa saying, is there formation lap? I'll have a check if I can. If I go into settings, go into simulation settings, the formation lap, I can't see it here. I think I'm in the wrong bit though. Yeah, formation lap is on and it is immersed. Safety car is on standard, red flags are on reduced. Corner cutting on strict. I'm very surprised that Red Bull from earlier, Rad, didn't get a track limit penalty for that when he went wide at the first chicane after turn 13. I think it's turn 15, 16, if I'm not mistaken. I think I sound like Murray Walker now when I'm saying if I'm not mistaken this, if I'm not mistaken that. But hey ho. It's just part of the wonderful art of commentating. Why has that happened? Why has that happened? Okay, that's happened. I don't know why. Just something on another thing. You don't have to worry. Yeah, well, we should be going anytime now then, as it is 8:39 UK time. Here we go then, formation lap starts. I think I'm just going to turn the graphics off for this and let the cars be in the full frame apart from that little icon in the bottom corner. Yeah, so we have big gap between the leader and third place at the moment. It's one of the Red Bulls up. There's a second Red Bull in this race. Alex Carew, who DNF'd before I got back. So we'll have a look at the track map there, and you can see all the dots going round. They've all broken off into their own little trains. The leaders are going to have freezing cold tyres if they stay like this. So I'd suggest, if I was a leader, I'd be waiting for the cars behind and going at a slower pace, like maybe even safety car speeds. But if you're a car behind, I do see the kind of enticing nature of waiting around at the back and waiting to freeze the guy ahead of you in terms of their tyres, as that means they have less grip into turn 1. So it could be a very shaken up start if that's the case. Obviously tyre temps mean a lot, especially at the start, as obviously it defines your launch off the start. It also defines if you're going to be slipping and sliding into the first corner, which is what you do not like at all. As obviously when there's 12 other cars around you in this specific race, it's not always fun having a slidey car, as it could also cause you to slide around and slide into the other driver. So yeah, anyway, we have the Alpine on the grid. We're looking behind as the last car enters the picture. It's the Red Bull of Alex, and then we'll get underway for Lightning Racing League. Here we go then. One, two, three, 4, 5 lights here on in Saudi, and the finale's underway. And it's a good start by the Alpine. It's a terrible start by the Aston Martin. He's going to get swallowed up by the Ferrari around the outside of him. As they head into start 1, there's chaos at the back. Couple cars going deep. The Chrome McLaren looking to capitalise on the Ferraris. As it's a great start by Leon, who gets ahead of the Chrome McLaren. As meanwhile at the back, there's nearly 3 wide at the background. It's the Mercedes of Gino. Looks like he's lost a bit of front wing. He's lost his side end plate on both sides of his wing, which is not great for him. Meanwhile, look at the gap that Formula Smokes he has. He's really benefited from that poor start for No Danger David, who is in danger at the start by the 2 red cars. As Leon jumping Arton at the start, that will be very important for later on as Artron. As meanwhile, an understeering Mercedes around Saudi Arabia is not what you need, Gino. And he's showing that by losing a lot of positions as the Williams goes by, the McLaren goes by, the Mercedes goes off the track, and now he's going to get swallowed up by Lindblad, who's side by side. There he is in the White Bull, as there's Fogar as well going past. As now, what happened to the Red Bull of Alex as well? Has he lost his front wing, it looks like? Not too sure. We'll see as he comes into picture. He's not lost his front wing, but it looks like he's spun. As meanwhile, Scott M overtakes No Danger David. He drops down 1 place compared to the place that he started on. As they head on to lap 2, the Ferraris making an absolute attack at the start. Meanwhile, the Alpine of Formula Smokes, he has smoked the start at this very point in time. As there's a couple cars breaking the toe in the background. We'll have a look at what that battle is all about. That's the Williams of QBV, who's battling with no Sebos. Meanwhile, Alex overtaking the pit-stricken Gino, who had a bit of a poor start, losing his front wing. No Sebo going past on the outside, going past QBV, who looks like he struggled out of turn 2. Didn't have a good run at all there. The Red Bull of Rad has made a beautiful start, going up many places from 11th. Meanwhile, the Ferrari sandwiching the Aston Martin, Lindblad, and I think QBV just went round. I think he did, as Fogan gives the place back. Looks like there was a bit of a tango between the Aston Martin and the Williams. Meanwhile, the better placed Aston Martin looks like he's in danger. No Danger David, living up to his name by being in danger in the number 3 Aston Martin. Meanwhile, the McLaren, the chrome car, looking to get past the IBM red Ferrari. Fogan gets back past QBV. We'll cut to that battle. Caught the end of it as going wide there. some of these drivers might incur penalties soon. Just meanwhile, side by side, both Ferraris are in battles at the moment. One of them's attacking, one of them's defending. Round the outside, it's nearly a good move by... It is a good move by Alton, should I say. As Leon was ahead, now he's behind, and he's lost a lot of time compared to Alton. Not too sure what's happened there. He's lagging back. I think he's lagged. As meanwhile, Danger David looking to get back past the Ferrari. He's now on the outside. He's through. What a move! Nice cutback there by Danger David, who thwarted the danger of the Ferrari behind him. Well, he was ahead, now he's behind. The red Ferrari in a code red scenario. As meanwhile, the chrome car getting back past Leon. Very important for this race. Leon looks like he has lag issues. And while reliability issues in terms of mechanical failures aren't present in sim racing, having a disconnection is the closest equivalent to that, as obviously the car turns into a ghost and goes at half the speed of everyone else, pace wise. But meanwhile, we have Petrocam in the lower place of the Alpines, who's coming out of the sweepers here. But it looks like we'll have a battle between the Ferrari first, the highest placed Ferrari versus the highest placed Aston Martin, the number 8 versus the number 3, who's gone wide out of that corner, and he's going to leave himself vulnerable as they head round turn 25 and turn 26. The two kinks up the hill. Round the outside goes the Ferrari. It's a great move by Scott. Danger David stays ahead though, heading through turn 27, but he's left himself vulnerable in the exit. While we say that, Rad has been overtaken by Petrocam, and the Ferrari of Scott does get back past David, as NDD goes back down to P3 here on lap 4. Lindblad gains a place on nose Sebo and is able to get ahead to start his lap 4 in P8. Petra also got back past Rad. Very important. As meanwhile, look at Smokesy. He's on fire today, as I think there's been an incident between the McLaren and Lindblad. And Lindblad's got a... Oh my lord. He's got crashed into by QBV. He was rejoining the track and he's got a 10-second penalty for rejoining unsafely. That is chaos. And as normal in Saudi Arabia, there is absolute anarchy on the track, and the first victim is QBV. There's not a lot he could have done there. That's merely just racing, I must say. As you know, it's a very tight track, and it's also very blind. You can't really see many of the corners on the other side. So when there's a car around, you don't see it till you've hit it, essentially. And that's a very unfortunate scenario for Lindblad. I don't know if they take penalties off in this league, but I feel that 10-second penalty is a little bit harsh. But meanwhile, we have No Sebo, who lost the place to Fogan after that incident. It looks like, from what I just seen, looks like Fogan and No Sebo. No, it looks like Lindblad and No Sebo both collided at turn 3. Both trying to fit through there side by side, and it didn't work. And that led to Lindblad having to rejoin the track and then getting rear-ended by QBVII. Meanwhile, the top 4 all in the pits. The top 5 all in the pits. Leon nearly hits the back of Alton. Everyone diving into the pits here. But I mean, if you're on the hards to start with, track position may be nice, but it depends on the tyre wear. Because I experienced as there is Lindblad who's pitting from the hards. He'll have to go to the mediums, but conserving your tyres, especially in this game, is very difficult. I experienced that in Monza yesterday, in a very small league called Formula Asphalt, which is nothing compared to this. And yeah, just ended up like 3-4 laps going through. To be fair, I am learning ABS, so my tyre wear is probably going to be a bit worse than normal. Meanwhile, Gino does get ahead of Sebo. Just gets to the pit exit. It's the race to the pit exit. If you can get to the safety car line, that is just in front of the pit exit, on turn 2, then you are ahead. Meanwhile, the 2 Red Bulls 8th and 9th, as the 2 Aston Martins 3rd and 4th after that whole scenario, as importantly, Fogan stays out. The Aston Martin of Fogan staying out in front of the Ferrari, who's sandwiching who's been sandwiched by the Aston Martins, should I say. But the only person with a penalty in this race so far is Rad. Lindblad served his penalty in that safety car, which, if you were in real life, you couldn't be able to do that, but luckily in sim racing you can do that. And it was a pretty harsh penalty, I must say. So there wasn't a lot else he could have done to avoid that. Meanwhile, the man with the number 11 behind Petra. We're here on lap 5. We'll get the message to say if the safety car comes in. And meanwhile, we get to enjoy these beautiful scenes of these cars going around the track. This is a beautiful sight to see. Nice field view cam. Into the pits goes Folgan. I see what he did there. The number 13 pitting after his teammate, as obviously he's avoiding the double stack, so he loses less on track position. Pretty smart strategy, I must say, by Folgan. He's picked another set of hard tyres. No, he picked from mediums to hards. As we are the Mercedes in the pits behind him. Interesting. That's Gino, who had no front wing at the end of the first lap. He had a bit of an incident, I think at turn 1, as I saw the V car but Lindblad go very deep, and I saw maybe another car, I don't know if it was Petra, who went deep as well. There was a couple who went deep at turn 1. I don't know if there was a hit on the Mercedes, but he had those, do you see those sidewall end plates that you can see on the Alpine, the pink vertical pieces on the end of the front wing of the Alpine? Let's get another static shot. But yeah, those two sidewall pieces of the front wing were both missing on that silver Mercedes. The silver and blue Mercedes. I know there's another silver car. It's the car there. Silver and orange, but that's the chrome McLaren car. That's not the Mercedes car. The Mercedes car looks like... Hang on, where is it? It looks like that. Yeah, he was missing both of his sidewall pieces of his front wing, which is just in front of the front tyres. He was missing both of them on the first lap. And yeah, he really, ever since then, he's just kind of struggled really, but the safety car may have helped him, I must say, as Folgan pitted, so Scott M is back up into P2. Meanwhile, the Mercedes and the Aston Martin have caught up to the safety car. I reckon the safety car could be in this lap if all goes to plan. Yep, safety car in this lap. I've just seen on that board, the SC of safety car on that board went to green, and that means safety car lights go off, the safety car goes in. So here we go then. Head round the last corner. It looks like Formula Smokesy's gone very early. He has. Formula Smokesy goes very early. Oh, he nearly crashes with Scott M. That may have to be looked at, I must say. But nearly contact between Scott M and Formula Smokesy. We're back underway here in Lightning Racing League. And it's a lightning getaway from Smokesy, as Scott M caught out by the strange behaviour on the restart. I don't know if that's classed as erratic here. As meanwhile, around the outside goes Leon on Alton. He goes off the track, but he will keep the position on the Chrome McLaren. There's been contact here with a massive train of cars with the Red Bull, the Toro Rosso, the Mercedes and the Aston Martin here. They've all gone very slowly out of turn 3. Looks like there may have been a little bit of contact. Wow, they are side by side, 3 wide with Alex Carew and Gino and Lindblad. As inside goes the Aston Martin. What's happened to Alex Carew? Very slow at the moment. It's been on the Mercedes looking to pounce. He's got ahead of the Aston Martin on the restart. He's looking to gain a 3rd place in this first restart lap. Lap 7 of this Grand Prix. The Mercedes making a move here in Saudi Arabia. Rather fittingly, a lightning restart for the Mercedes, who's looking to get ahead of Lindblad. Meanwhile, we have a look up the grid. The Alpine's still ahead of the Ferrari, who's still sandwiching. As meanwhile, the Mercedes does get ahead of the V-Carb. Lindblad being passed by Gino, who's up into 9th. He's gone from 12th to 9th in that restart alone. Great lap 7 for Gino. Let's hope he can translate that to the rest of the race now and have a better mid and end stage of the race that doesn't compare to his first. As meanwhile, the Aston Martin goes wide. Fogan wide at turn 1 there. That's going to cost him a lot of time. Meanwhile, the other Aston Martin currently chasing the Ferrari, but he's also got to look in his mirror because look, there's another Ferrari behind him. He looks both directions and he sees the same car. One's a lot closer to him than the other car though, I must say. The Ferrari behind of Leon looking like he may even make a move on the Aston Martin. He heads round the S's and down the back section of the track. This is where the move could be made for Leon. Where does he go? He goes outside of this sweeper. Go on board with Leon. Nearly contact there. He doesn't make the move. He stays behind for now, but the Aston goes wide. That's going to make him vulnerable. Inside, there's contact. Big shot for the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. They both spear and pirouette on the exit of turn 24. As Leon comes out ahead in that scenario, he went for the inside. Main danger David, who's in danger from Petrocam, locking up at turn 27. It looked like he didn't see that coming. It looked like the Ferrari maybe caught the wall, and that pitched him out to the Aston Martin. As meanwhile, the Alpine down the straight goes round the outside of main danger David. Great move under braking by Petrocam. And if he did have a camera, he would be able to take a whopping photo of that one and keep that one as a memory, because that was a beautiful move on the outside. Very nice brake control there by Petrocam. I'm very impressed. As Rad behind him gets a penalty for track limits, he might not want to remember that one. As meanwhile, wide for Alton, he nearly crashes into Leon again. Leon nearly coming into blows again, but this time it's Alton going wide through the snaky S's at the beginning of the lap, the sector 1 S's. But he heads out of the hairpin at turn 13. He's now through 14, through 15. There's yellow flags again. It's the other Aston Martin, Fogan. No, his name danger David again. Oh, and he nearly collects Lindblad. Lindblad, who had a crash with QBV when he rejoined the track unsafely, nearly had his own taste of medicine with name danger David, who comes into blows for the second time in a lap. It looks like he just went off on his own though, and he's got a penalty and he's in the wall. Not the best. Name danger David in danger at the moment. The Aston Martin now down with his teammate, who had an issue earlier on at turn 1, missing his braking point. There's a virtual safety car, and he's nearly at the wall again. I think this is spelling disaster for name danger David. Meanwhile, joy for Ferrari, who despite the contact with Leon and name danger are still second, third, although Alpine first and fifth as well. That's going to be a good constructors battle, but they have the annoying presence of that chrome McLaren car right there, the MasterCard chrome car of the McLaren of Alton. Meanwhile, it looks like the Aston Martins have swapped places. Made danger David in the pits, although he hasn't retired. No, he has now. I spoke too soon. The number 3 Aston Martin out of the race in the pits to retire. Very unfortunate. That means Alex Carew goes up to 11th. And a drive-through penalty for Lindblad, who speeds under the safety car. More issues for Lindblad. And while Arvin Lindblad in F2 had a bad weekend in Monza in Formula 2, Lindblad in Lightning Racing League has not fared much better. But meanwhile, we go back to green flags. Formula Smokesy still still cooking the field like smoky bacon. Meanwhile, Scott M89. And then comes the 73 car of Leon, who despite the contact has not received damage from it, despite pirouetting at this very part 2 laps ago. The chrome car of Leon, Outtron should I say, just behind him as well. They've all spread out into their own battles. The closest battle on track being this battle separated by, this trio even, separated by a second between each other, of Rad, Noseb and Gino, who the Mercedes, I have to say again, a great restart by the Mercedes of Gino, who went from 12th to 9th in one lap on lap 7, as down the inside of Rad, who had a bad run down that straight. It looks like he's got a high downforce setup compared to the McLaren, or he just had a bad run down the straight. He goes down into turn 3. As he goes wide as well, that's going to leave him vulnerable. He's all over the place a little bit compared to the McLaren and compared to the ideal racing line. This trio have closed up right up to each other. Fogarn gets another penalty for track limits. Not the best for the Aston Martins, who have already lost one driver. They don't want to have too many troubles with the other one. As same goes as well for the Ferrari, who nearly had trouble with one of their drivers, but have managed to survive that battle. But the Red Bull looking under pressure. There's the Aston Martin off. As I said, the Aston Martin didn't need more trouble. They've got more trouble. At the banking, turn 13, here at Jeddah Corniche, there's been more issues for the Silverstone-based squad of Aston Martin. Gino, no Sebo, and Rad very close together. Rad has no DRS. The two Mercedes power cars behind him do. Down the inside, Rad goes off the final corner. He locks up. Not the best line there for Rad. You can't park there, so he can, but it's not recommended. And he's now behind Lindblad in the Toro Rosso. Meanwhile, the McLaren down the inside of the Mercedes. He picked up one place on the Red Bull. He gets back up ahead of the Mercedes. No, he doesn't. He goes wide. Leon's out. Leon out of the race. He's at the sweepers. He's lost the car here. He's cleared the wall on the inside of turn 3. That is awful. Leon, who survived the crash earlier on with Nate Danger David after crashing. And there's a drive-through as well for Altron for speeding under the safety car. Or under the VSC, should I say. More carnage here at Saudi. And while Leon, who hit his right front suspension off of the wall and then hit his left front suspension on Nate Danger David, he hit his left front suspension again on that wall, and it has now collapsed and given up on him and taken him out of the race. That means if anyone finishes this race now, they will get points. Interestingly enough, they will at least get 1 point. So it's worth staying in the race if you can. As we'll see if we can see any reactions in the chat. Can't see any at the moment. I'm sure the drivers there won't be too happy after that issue. So, it'll be interesting to see the outcome of that in the steward's room. Alton going in the pits. Let's see what he does. Is this him serving the penalty, or is this him changing his tyres? I'm not sure. It's green flag again now as Fogarn retires. The other Aston Martin retires from the session, and it is a safety car. Very lucky that Alton was able to come into the pits when he did, because it went green flag for a very short-timed section there. So Alton dodging a bullet on that one. Meanwhile, Lindblad, because obviously you can't serve drive-through penalties under a safety car, can you? So luckily he was able to serve it under green flags, and then midway through that penalty, the safety car came out. But yeah, not good. As Leon typing, we're gonna get a reaction from him. He says he's saying it's a brilliant debut, as it happens to the best of us, Leon. But Saudi's a tricky track, and this league makes it even trickier sometimes. So that means we've had 4 cars leave this race early. But yeah, Leon, you'll come back stronger next time. This is the finale, so you know you'll come back strong in the first round, hopefully. And that goes for Fogarn, Nate Danger David, and QBV. Remember, it is the last round, so you can start afresh next time out. Meanwhile, the Alpines 1 and 3. Very important to know. That's going to really help them out in the Constructors' Championship, wherever they're fighting it for. Another pit stop being made. It's a 2-stopper now with the safety car for both Alpines. For Gino. Oh no, not for Gino. For Petro, who's trying to manage his Delta, I reckon. The McLaren of No Sabo and Gino are very close together as well. It's into the pits. They all come into the pits. I'll be surprised if anyone stays out. The Alpines have not double stacked. Very nice. The Chrome McLaren. So in comes the default McLaren. And in comes the Chrome McLaren behind that. They both go on hards. Or was that mediums to hards? I'm not too sure. We have the 47, who's been in a lot of trouble in the race so far. He nearly hits the wall on the outside of the pit entry. Ow. As he comes into the pits and changes his tyres onto a set from mediums to mediums. And he retires. Lindblad is out. I'm surprised at that one. The Red Bull of Alex Caru, the Spaniard. I'm pretty sure he's a Spaniard. He might not be. Oh, he's coming out of the pits just behind the Toro Rosso, who's retiring in front of him. Oh, he nearly crashed into him as well. So that means we have 5 drivers who have left this race early. As we see here, we have Lindblad, our latest exit from this race. Let's have a little look at a couple other things as well at the moment. The fastest lap was by Leon at the moment, so he would get the point for that, although he's retired. Position changes. The guy who's gained the most places off the start is Alex, who started 13th, is now 8th. Petra as well. Great race for him so far, running up in the podium with his teammate Formula Smokesy Alpine, reigning in the points, along with Scott M89. Alton losing positions, but all hope is not lost. As we can see, 3 stops being made by Gino, and he's still running in P4. The only other driver to make 3 stops is Lindblad, and his 3rd stop was his retirement stop. Meanwhile, we have a look here. So most of the field I've got on mediums, which are, in my opinion, the option tyre, the option to be having for now in terms of speed. Obviously, if you don't know the tyre rules in F1, mediums. Obviously, you want the car to not be able to slide as much as possible, but you also don't want your tyres to deflate and go flat on you quick as well. So the mediums, so we have the soft tyre, which no one is using at the moment, which is the most grippy, but which is why it's used in qualifying. It's the most grippy, but it tends to go flat very quickly. Meanwhile, the mediums don't go as flat as quick, but also aren't as sticky. But in this scenario, they are needed because they run for a good amount of time, but they are still grippy and fast. The hard tyres are the ones that last forever, or not forever, but for a long time. They last for a while, but they do make the car slide around a lot more than the other 2 tyres. So it's really a strategy game to, if you want to go fast for a short amount of time, or go slightly slower but not have to make as many pit stops. And at the moment, 3 drivers, Scott M89, Alton, Alex Caru, are going for the prime tyre option. Prime as in they have their prime for longer, which are the hard tyres. Mediums being the option tyre, which is, you know, the optional tyre to have in terms of speed. So yeah, it'll be good to see. Meanwhile, let me hide that graphic for you and put the interval graphic back up. Interval meaning the gap. No, the gap is on an interval. The gap is not needed at the moment, but we'll remove the leaderboard for now as we get a clear view of what's going on here at the restart. Formula Smokesy back to business in green flag conditions. Meanwhile, it looks like he's left himself vulnerable as the Ferrari goes to the outside. Formula Smokesy for the first time is under pressure in this race. But he is able to fend it off and is able to pull a gap. The McLaren side by side. The Red Bull nearly going through on the pair of them, but doesn't get the run and the momentum to get past the pair of them. Meanwhile, the McLaren side by side into turn 3. That's not recommended. As off wide for Alton, who nearly collides with No Sebo. No Sebo saying no to having his teammate pass him, but he has now cost himself a large gap behind Gino. As now the Red Bull's going to pass him of Rad. Meanwhile, bang. Right, meanwhile, meanwhile we're back, and so there's been battling with the McLarens and the Red Bull of Rad, who's dropped back now. Well, he was battling with Alton like an animal. But meanwhile, we have the Mercedes of Gino catching Petra towards the end of this race. But yeah, we saw the Alpine there nearly getting into trouble there. He had a bit of the Ferrari of Scott having a bit of a look, but Formula Smokesy saying, nah, I've led this race for long enough. You're not taking it away from me now. But with 8 laps to go in this race, it could be anyone's guess to see what the order looks like. Obviously, we have a good idea of who will be on top, but in terms of people who are second and down, it's a whole different ball game. Ball game. You know what I mean. Meanwhile, 3/10 separating Gino and the Alpine. The Renault engine not being able to fend off the Mercedes power of Gino, who goes to the outside and takes 3rd place up to the podium for the Mercedes. As meanwhile, the McLaren swap positions. Alton goes ahead in the chrome car. He goes ahead of the default black and orange car of No Sebo. The McLaren swap places. The Alpine Renault car swapping places with the factory Mercedes car. The number 98 car of Tarkan Gino. Meanwhile, we head out of turn 11 and 12. Round goes Alton. Alton in the chrome car spins. Doesn't take himself out of the race. He has to be careful as he rejoins the track. As my heart was in my throat there as he rejoined the track. As we've seen a close call for Name Danger David, who nearly collided with Lindblad. We saw Lindblad in turn have QBV smack into the back of him and break his wheel off due to a bad rejoin. And Alton there luckily not getting too close to Rad as he crossed the track after his skirmish, and he's gone wide as well. He's gone wide. How is that not a penalty? I will never know. But the Red Bulls and the McLarens battling for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, which compared to real life is a little bit lower than normal in terms of realism. As meanwhile, Petra looking to get back past the factory Mercedes car as the Alpine Renault. Can he get back past the Mercedes? He's gone down the left hand side of him, the driver's left, and he's now around the outside and again under braking at turn 1. He aces that move. He did it earlier on I think it was Lindblad, or was it it was Name Danger David that he did it on earlier, and now he does it again on the Mercedes. Beautiful move, chef's kiss for the Alpine, who takes both Alpines back to the podium. There's battling here with Alton. Oh no, Alton to the pits. I thought the Red Bull was battling. No, he just went wide on his own. The 24 car back in the pits for a new front wing after that spin at turn 11 on lap 18. Meanwhile, we have, who do we have now? We have the Mercedes and Alpine still very close together, 8 tenths apart. We have Petra 9 tenths ahead of the Mercedes. We have this beautiful camera at the moment as they head through under the bridge, under the hotel, and back out up around on the on this little part of the island here near the Red Sea as they head through turn 27. 5 laps to go in this race, so that's about 7 minutes left in terms of any WEC endurance viewers who like to reference the time in terms of race distance. The Mercedes and the Alpine, though, this battle is going to heat up towards the end, I reckon. It's already heated up so far. These two, we've seen an Alpine and a Williams battling in Ground Effect Racing League in Japan, and nearly wide there for the Mercedes of Gino. That will affect his chase. He now has to work twice as hard to get that position from Petra, and remember, catching is one thing, but passing is quite another. The famous words of the great Murray Walker. We miss yours. Meanwhile, now that means the closest battle on track is the battle for the lead. We look behind, Smokesy, and we see that red car of Scott M89 behind in the red Scarlet Ferrari. Could this be a race? Could this lead that Formula Smokesy has led? He's led every lap of this race so far, but he's currently 1.1 seconds away from Scott. This is the most pressure he's faced so far, as Nadine David was right next to him on the grid, 2 tenths behind him in qualifying, but he fell behind after a poor start. Nadine David did. He fell behind the Ferrari of Scott, then the Aston Martins and the Ferrari both trading positions as well as Alton, but the Aston of Nadine David, Leon in the Ferrari, Alton in the McLaren, who's just got a penalty for track limits. As meanwhile, the other McLaren has just gone past Gino, who pits for softs. I think that's the first time I've seen that tyre used in the race so far. That's interesting. So he's sacrificed track position behind Sebo to potentially go for the fastest lap. Potentially. I don't know if he'll be able to catch 15 seconds to catch Sebo. Sebo's on used medium tyres for the next 4 laps of this race, so that's going to be something to watch alongside the main attraction, which is this fight for the lead. Scott dancing with the DRS window in terms of if he's able to use it or not. I think he is able to use it. No, he's not. He's not able to use it yet, but he should be able to use it now. He's just gone through the detection point. 0.9 behind. Watch that rear wing. It opens, and that means he's faster in the straights. That means, unlike the Alpine, his rear wing is closed. So when the rear wing opens, the drag gets reduced. That's why it's called DRS, the drag reduction system. It means that he goes faster on the straights, and you have to be within you have to be 0 point something behind another driver to be able to use the DRS, and you have to go through one of those green circles that you can see on the map. One of them green circles, you have to be 0 point something behind a driver through one of those green zones to be able to use DRS. That's something that Alton here, he's not got DRS because he's just outside a sec. He's got 1 point second to the guy in front. Meanwhile, Scott will be able to use DRS. He will be able to use it depending on how much battery he has, though, as well. It looks like he's going to try and he's conserved battery over the last lap or so. I think that's why he dropped to about 1.2 seconds. Now he's within half a second. This is the closest the lead has been since the safety car restart. Scott piling the pressure on. Formula Smoksy, and he's nearly off! And that was nearly a huge shot. Meanwhile, Rad has pitted for softs, I think. I can't tell what the tyre that is, but Scott, on one hand, good news, because he hadn't crashed the car, which he was very close to doing. But on the bad news side, he has now dropped to 2.0 seconds to the Alpine in front of him. But depending on if he can catch or not, because thing is, Smokesy, look, he's on mediums, and they are very worn mediums. Look, you can see with how many different shades of black and grey there is on that tyre as it's going round. They are worn. They are not a smooth tyre. That means he'll have less grip than the guy behind him. But depending on whether Scott goes through graining or whether Scott makes another mistake like that, because that mistake could have led to a Ferrari double DNF. So he has to find the limit between going for the win and going into a wall, and he came very close to that. But that means the Alpine is now able to control the race a bit more, conserve a bit, give himself some breathing space in case Scott catches up again. Scott has catched 5 tenths now since that spin, but has he caught enough? I reckon if my... Oh wow! As Scott goes right off wide there, you saw that on the camera angle, he just flew past and went completely off. I thought that was going in a wall, but luckily he keeps it out again. But it's the same part of the track where he's made a mistake and dropped. He's now dropped over a second from what he just caught a minute ago. That S's section is proving to be costly for the guy behind him. The guy behind Formula Smokesy's struggling, and I think that chase is over for the lead of the race. Unfortunately, unless Formula Smokesy does a very uncharacteristic mistake that we haven't seen at the moment. We will see as we head on the penultimate lap. It's been a completely controlled race by Smokesy. He hasn't broke under any pressure. Very impressive by the Alpine. Very dominant performance. Controlled the race like a DualShock 4, which is a PlayStation controller for those who don't know. As we head down into turn 13 with the Alpine for the second last time. As 2.7 seconds, he is losing time, but we'll cut to the Ferrari. He hasn't made a mistake in this section this time. He's 2.4 seconds now. Is the chase back on? Normally that's something you'd see on UK TV if you watch the TV show The Chase on ITV with Bradley Walsh. But right here in Lightning Racing League, the chase is on for the lead of the race. But it was more on earlier than it was now. The gap 2.3 seconds. I don't know if you can catch 2 seconds in a lap, but he has caught a lot, to be fair, in that last sector. The Alpine is conserving a lot, but I reckon he's saving battery up. The Ferrari hasn't got a lot of battery compared to the Alpine. I'm just seeing on that yellow bar on the steering wheel. If you can see, look, the yellow bar on the steering wheel of the Ferrari, just underneath that green bar, that's the amount of electric boost he has, otherwise known as ERS. Look, the Alpine has a lot more in comparison. But 2.2 seconds separating these two. But I reckon if Scott catches up to anywhere close, Smokesy will just use that battery and absolutely pull away from Scott. As here we go then. It looks like the winner, the winner that we predicted, again 1.8 seconds, but look at the battery he has. Look at the battery he has. I mean, it is very similar, to be fair. The mediums very much dropping off in this last stage, but unless there's a huge mistake in that last corner. The Mercedes is round. Gino on the softs, and he's put it in the wall. That's such a shame for the Mercedes driver. Speaking of the car he was battling with, looks like he's going to come over the line. And Formula Smokesy has cooked the field like smoky bacon today. He wins the season finale of Lightning Racing League. What a thunderous performance by the Alpine driver. Scott, after an incredible chase, doesn't quite complete the chase. Doesn't quite make the TIG tug. That sounds wrong. As Petrocam makes it an Alpine 1-3, a double podium for the French squad. No Sebo takes 4th, no podium, but no matter, as it's the last race of the season. He's beaten his teammate in this last round. He's also beaten the mistaken Mercedes in 5th, as we have to go over the line with the Mercedes. There we go, over the line for the Mercedes. We have 3 more drivers to come over the line, and then that will be the end of the race. We have the McLaren and the 2 Red Bulls. It's been a pleasure commentating for this race. And after a thrilling race, there we go. That's the cutscene we needed. We'll go over the little stats and then we'll be done with the race as we know it. Great race today for the McLaren and for the Alpine squad. The Ferrari, who were looking very dominant compared to the Alpine, who were looking like they were going to be the big target, were on one side of the garage, weren't on the other side, as their collisions with the Aston Martin really hurt them. As, here we go. So the race winner and the fastest lap go to Formula Smokesy. The most overtakes go to Gino, and Petrocam, being the cleanest driver. It's a grand slam for Smokesy, but I've got to go. See you later, and goodbye.